Breaking news coming in on Gravitas. Zimbabwe's President Robert Mugabe, after much back and forth, has finally resigned. On your screen, visuals of celebrations in Harare, the capital of Zimbabwe. People coming out on the streets and celebrating the end of his 37 years in power. The country's House of Assembly Speaker made this announcement moments ago. He told other parliamentarians that he's received a resignation letter from Robert Mugabe. He was in power since the country's independence in 1980. And as I said, this ends his 37-year-old rule. The announcement came while the impeachment proceedings were underway during a joint session of the country's parliament. Mugabe had earlier refused to resign despite the military takeover of Zimbabwe. The decision comes days after the military took over the reins of power and put him in detention. He's agreed to the terms of resignation, we understand. This is hours after the ruling party, that is Mugabe's own party, began impeachment proceedings. Clearly, he saw the writing on the wall and decided to finally resign.
He deserves a good rest. He has done so much for all of us.
Mr. Moyo, could you tell us from the Associated Press, could you tell us how surprised were you that announcement came when it did?
Not surprised as such, because these developments have been going on for the last 2 weeks. As you can see, here, the writing has been on the wall for the last 2 weeks. This was the last nail on the coffin. But what I can only say is that here's a man who has done so much for this country. He deserves a restful time, whatever God says to him, but he deserves a rest.
But he did the dignified thing.
He's dignified on his part, but this could have been done earlier.
It's a new era for Zimbabwe.
Oh yes, certainly, certainly.
What's the priority?
Well, what is important is unity, peace and development for our country.
And what should Zimbabweans be expecting after this?
This is what I'm saying. I'm saying what is important for all of us is a new beginning. We must look at the unity of our people. We must emphasize on peace for our people. We must also look at the issues.
And joining us on the phone line is Kennedy Mandaza. He's the spokesperson of the party called ZANU-PF. That is the ruling party, Robert Mugabe's own party. Mr. Mandaza, thanks very much for speaking to WION. We understand that he has agreed to his terms of resignation, which among other things include that he and his wife will be granted full immunity. Can you share more details?
Yes, it's a great day for the people of Zimbabwe. The president, Comrade R.G. Mugabe, has resigned. Although it has come a little bit long, he has finally resigned to ensure that there is a new beginning in the country. The majority of Zimbabweans are jubilant, which means that they are happy to give a send-off to the person who brought independence to Zimbabwe, who did a great deal. And what we need to do now as Zimbabweans is to go ahead solidifying the foundation that he laid for all of us.
If he was such a great leader, why this disgraceful exit? Can you also share with us the terms of agreement that he has signed? What does this resignation, what does this agreement entail? Will legal proceedings be initiated against him and his wife?
The legal proceedings that were taking place, the impeachment, it was during the process of the motion for impeachment that the Speaker of Parliament read the notice of resignation from the President. And it now rests in the hands of the Speaker of Parliament and the parliamentarians whether to proceed with the impeachment or to stop there, because ordinarily the impeachment sought to find a way of making sure that President Mugabe gets out of office. But he has done it voluntarily, and we welcome that initiative. And I believe the majority of those that are in Parliament will consider their position with regards to the legal route that they wanted to follow. But let me also say that the President, in order for him to resign, he would not have done so without informing the Speaker of Parliament. So this is also another legal route that he followed, of making sure that he gives a letter or his notice to resign to the House, to the Speaker of the House of Parliament.
What next for Robert Mugabe then and his family?
The President, Robert Mugabe, we believe there are quite a number of concessions that they've agreed to with those that have been brokering the meeting. And the deal, I think, has taken consideration of his security as a former head of state in our country, and he will remain in the country for as long as he is alive. And his family, they've been also guaranteed the security and safety that is supposed to be given to the head of state.
Right, and this is what he said. I'm going to request you, Mr. Mandaza, to stay with us. This is what Robert Mugabe said as he resigned. I, Robert Mugabe, in terms of Section 96 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, hereby formally tender my resignation. It will take place formally after this letter is sent to the Speaker of Parliament. What took this resignation so long, Mr. Mandaza? It was expected that he would declare it last week when he announced a press conference with the army generals, but he refrained from saying so. Instead, he paid a tribute to the three pillars of power in Zimbabwe. Was he hoping, against hope, that he would still retain his seat?
President Mugabe is a lawyer, but is also a lawyer. He knows the legal route that is supposed to follow. And I would like to believe that he would not have resigned in the presence of the people that he commands without having gone through the Speaker of Parliament. So on the day that many of us as Zimbabweans expected him to resign, he did not do so, but he has used this opportunity that is constitutional to make sure that he finds a dignified exit. Although it has taken this long, it is still dignified because President Robert Mugabe has been iconic in the country and in the world over. And in spite of that, it is time for him to rest, and he deserves the rest that is going on now.
Right. You left him with no choice, of course. Who is going to take over the reins of power immediately after this?
The ZANU-PF, according to the Constitution, ZANU-PF should look for a leader amongst them who should then ascend to power. And already, ZANU-PF, in its Central Committee meeting held last Sunday, decided that Comrade Emerson Mnangagwa, who has become the interim president of the party, he will ordinarily be recommended to ascend to power, given the vacuum that has been created by the recalling of the second vice president, Comrade Mpoko. So it is Mnangagwa who is supposed to take over in the shoes until the 2018 elections.
Can you describe to us what's happening? We're looking at visuals on the streets of Harare. Was there overwhelming anti-Mugabe sentiment in the run-up to this resignation?
The visuals that you are seeing is the sense of excitement that is among the Zimbabweans. And the excitement is brought about by a number of reasons. People have various reasons. Some of them are celebrating the going of President Mugabe as the long-time president who had overstayed. That could be others. And there are those who are also celebrating the fact that Comrade Mugabe has chosen to exit using a dignified manner rather than going through the impeachment process. But over and above that, all these celebrations is the excitement of the people that are looking forward to a new beginning in which we have unity, a unity of purpose, and a unity that will foster development in the country.